Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. Help me keep those likes higher than the dislikes. It will be greatly appreciated. Only you can do that. Thank you so much. But over to the point. You know, when we see all these people like Vegan Gains and a lot of these other militant vegans who get up and argue from their points of emotion and pretend to be logical about it, but they really aren't. They're not really based upon science or reason or logic. They always prop up this whole straw man, and I see it in my comments section. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that that's what I'm going off of, because I noticed tons and tons and tons of vegans who came over from Richard's channel when he's tried to start fights with me and stir up drama, that they come in and everything for them is about vegans versus meat eaters, vegans versus carnivores. And they try to pretend like carnivores and vegans are the only two categories in existence, right? It's like they create this whole massive bias as if it's the vegan diet, which is a tiny, tiny little percent, like less than 1% of people are ever going to try a ridiculous vegan diet. And I'm going to say it's pretty ridiculous. And I'm saying that as someone who did try it for 6 months many, many years ago. And that's come up here too. People are like, wasn't it just 2 or 3 years ago? No, it was a lot longer. I tried it for 6 months, and that's almost something I should talk about again, that my negative experiences having done this ludicrous thing. And I said at the end of it, it was ludicrous and it was the worst dietary mistake I ever made. And I said that over 5 years ago. But the point we come to is that they try to pretend like everyone is a massive carnivore. They use the carnivore diet to prop up against what they're doing. And that's an enormous straw man. And I'd go so far as to say that the people who do the carnivore diet are actually helping vegans in that regard. Like, they think that they're not, because they're usually former vegans. Okay, most people who follow, sorry about that, guys, there's going to be noise. It's 4:30 in the morning and there's still noise outside. The people who follow the carnivore diet are former vegans. The vast majority of them are former vegans who realized veganism was literally insane, but they didn't correct their own insanity that led them to the vegan diet before they jumped to something crazy and new. And it can tend to be a pretty big demographic because most people drop out of veganism. Like, all the studies show that have looked at it showed something like 87 or 88% of people who become vegan, who identify as a vegan, who live a vegan lifestyle, eventually leave it because they can't sustain it. It is unsustainable. It's completely unsustainable. At least for the vast majority of people, basically 7 out of 8 people. And only those can stay with it. And so there's a very, very large number of former vegans versus current vegans. They outnumber them by a pretty large margin at any given time. And because people who tried it found it was so miserable and failed on it so badly, for obvious reasons, there tends to be a large body of people ready to attack it and hate it. But the problem is when they come over to something else just as extreme. Well, the carnivore diet is just as extreme. Like, no reasonable person is going to promote this. Now, a lot of carnivores will say, well, we can do nose to tail carnivore and we don't need vegetables. Like, do you understand how ludicrous that is? Do you understand that you sound as ludicrous as the vegans who come up with these crazy methods to, man, I can somehow get enough protein to maximize performance? Yeah, when you're drinking 10 vegan protein shakes every day. Okay, the problems that you run into are just as ludicrous when you do this whole, well, if I eat these adrenal glands, I can get some vitamin C. Why can't you just eat a piece of spinach? Why can't you just eat some broccoli? Like, do you understand that you're being ludicrous and insane and extreme by taking this approach? And then the ridiculous part is that the vegans jump up and say, okay, well, see, this is the other extreme. They argue against something, their tiny diet that only 1% of the population are going to do. They're going to argue against another tiny demographic that maybe 1% of the population is going to do, and that's what they fight. It's this little storm in a teacup back and forth. Whereas over here in the real world, pretty much almost every elite athlete on the face of the earth follows an omnivore diet. Humans are cook omnivores by our nature. Okay? We're unlike any other animal. We're unlike any other animal. We pre-digest our food by cooking it. Our biology is geared towards that. And so when you'll see vegans jump up and make this, well, we're built to be we're herbivores. No, we're not. If you look at our digestive tract, it's very obvious that our ancestors, before we reached our current state, ate cooked food. Our GI tract is largely built around that fact. Okay? We have descended from cooked food eaters who ate both meat and plants for a couple of million years. Right? That's what our data shows. We've been cooking that long. The cooking is a big part of it. We are cooked omnivores. We thrive in that environment. We thrive in that environment. And that's generally what all the best athletes eat. That's generally what the healthiest people on earth eat. You know, and when they try to use certain people as examples, like Okinawa, for example, they eat meat and eggs. Not saying it's the biggest part of their diet, but they eat meat and eggs. But people also have to remember you're also dealing with a group of people. We can't extrapolate that to the rest of the world. They have a very, very low pollution environment. And there's the genetic factors, right? There's all these things. Well, let's come over to the point. Generally speaking, omnivores do the best. Now, I personally push a very animal product heavy diet. That's what I do. That's one reason a lot of vegans hate me and they go out of their way to attack me, because I do promote that. But I would never promote a pure carnivore diet. I would never say not to eat vegetables. You should be eating vegetables every day. Every sane coach, every sane nutritionist, everyone out there who works with healthy, fit, elite performing athletes is going to have you eat animal products and vegetables every single day. That should just be a normal part of your diet. Because that's what we talk about here. I don't want people to think that I'm talking about living to be 120. This is a strength and fitness channel. We are generally geared in the direction of performance. And rightly so. Look at all the data. What's the data show us? We know that out of your lifestyle factors, resistance training and strength is probably the single most important variable you have available to you, besides obviously not being fat, not smoking, not doing party drugs, things like that. We know that how important that is, and so I tend to tell people to eat to fuel performance. Right? We need to get our muscle mass as high as we can reasonably get it. We need our bone density high. We need good health markers in terms of insulin sensitivity, all of those things. And we get all of these health benefits through strength training and performance. But that's its own topic. Totally separate stuff I've covered in the past. There's a lot of data about strength and longevity and quality of life as we get further on in life into our 60s and 70s. Strength matters a lot. Even though maybe having the highest strength, again due to genetic factors and body weight, may not help you live to be 120, it definitely improves quality of life enormously up into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I would say that's what we should be looking at, is total quality of life. But the point is, these vegans, they want to argue about carnivores, and to them they act as if there's not another alternative. It's like the only alternatives to the vegan diet for them are, what? A standard American diet eating hamburgers and milkshakes and pizza and french fries every day. French fries being a vegan food, of course. Right? That's the other alternative, or a carnivore diet. Those are the only two things they argue against. They don't ever argue against a well-balanced omnivore diet of whole foods for an athlete, because that's what really works, and every sane, reasonable dietitian and coach and everybody else knows this. This is generally accepted. It's universally accepted. But they won't argue against that because they know they will lose. They know they're going to be made asses out of. So they have to create straw mans to argue against. And their straw man is going to be the sedentary person on the most extreme version of the standard American diet, which maybe on average is slightly less healthy than an average vegan. Or they're going to argue against the carnivore diet, which is a backlash against veganism. Right? It's a backlash against veganism. It's not a real position, and it's equally as insane as veganism is. It really is. At least that version of the carnivore. The carnivore diet, where they go as extreme as the vegan, where the vegan won't touch meat or dairy, but the carnivore won't touch plants. Okay, that's insane. Like, if you're literally coming from that approach, and we know the health benefits of eating vegetables, if you're coming from that approach, you are literally as crazy as the vegans are. Neither one of these people should have a place at the table, yet somehow they manage to inject themselves into the argument as if they have validity. Neither of you guys have any validity in sports nutrition, at least. Maybe for certain specific medical conditions, some of your diets might help with certain medical conditions for very ill people. Okay, maybe. But when we're talking sports nutrition, we're talking about fitness, neither of these ludicrous extreme ideas have a place at the table. And they are flat rejected by the real experts. Why are they even being discussed and taken seriously? They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be taken seriously at all. No one in the real sports world takes them seriously. The dietitians don't, sports dietitians don't, who work with real athletes. Why should we be taking them seriously? We shouldn't. It's clownery. Laugh them away. Let them argue with each other. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.